As usual, the news stories that I have are all sourced from Gamatsu, so if you ever want to go into more detail of anything I'm talking about, just Google the game name and Gamatsu and you'll find it. And for a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about, they go into like hella detail for the games, and so if you really want to know about it, go to Gamatsu. They're cool. And like I mentioned in the intro, there is a lot of news I'm going to be talking about. A lot of it's going to be me kind of reading the synopsis so you have a better idea of the game. And so I'll just mention right now, sit back, relax, maybe have a snack on hand because this is going to take a while to get through. Hopefully not too long. But the first thing I want to start with, very quick, but The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak, a series I very much love, is already having a second game announced for the West. Technically not announced. It was leaked through a PlayStation leak apparently, where someone found the English version of the logo. So if you didn't know, Trails Through Daybreak is coming to the West on July something. It is coming out in July, so like literally in the next month. And so we didn't know about the second game, whether that was coming or not, and this kind of confirms that it is coming because someone found an English version of the logo in the PlayStation leak. So that is coming at some point. Honestly, it could come as soon as end of this year, maybe even early next year, because that's what they did with the Zero and Azure games, which is another duology where I believe Zero came out sometime in, I want to say summer or September, somewhere there, and then the second one came out like March the next year. So this may be the exact same situation where the Daybreak 2 comes out March in 2025, but we'll see. If we find out more information, obviously I'll talk about it on this podcast, but that's the first thing I want to mention. The second thing I want to mention is a game called Riviera: The Promised Land, which is a remaster coming for PC, and it launches on July 17th worldwide, so very soon, within a couple of weeks. It seems like an older type of game because the sprites look kind of like hand-drawn-ish, but you could tell the remastered, it has kind of like the remastered look. It looks like they kind of upscaled the sprites. It is a isometric turn-based type game, and I feel like I might have covered this already on the podcast in a previous episode because it did look very familiar. But real quick, let me just read the synopsis so you have a better idea of what the game is. So it is: at the behest of Hector, who was one of the 7 Magi, the grim angel Ein and his familiar Rose, along with another grim angel named Leda, all head to Riviera, an island floating in Asgard. On the way, Ursula, the guardian of Riviera, appears and is thwarted by the grim angel's intrusion. Ein, whose memories were sealed by Ursula's attack, wakes up in Alendia, where the spirits live. That was a lot of gibberish to me, but that is a synopsis. But yeah, that's just a kind of, quick picture of the game story if you are interested. I don't know too much more about the game. I just looked at the gameplay very quick, and that's kind of going to be how I cover a lot of the games, where like if I'm interested, I'll go into a bit more detail, but pretty much I want to give you a quick look at the type of game it is, the synopsis, the type of gameplay it has, the visuals, and that's pretty much it. And if you want to look deeper into it, look into it yourself at Gamatsu if you want. The next thing I want to talk about is something very cool to me. Is there is a Kaiju number 8 game that is coming out on PC and mobile. So far they released a cinematic trailer, and the cinematic trailer looks fucking fantastic. Like visually, I really love the style. It is a cinematic trailer, so like I don't know if the game will look like that, but it shows Kafka as a Kaiju. It shows a couple of other characters. I believe they showed Ichikawa. They showed the blonde girl, can't remember her name right now, but this is really exciting to me because I recently caught up to the manga. I believe I talked about it in a previous episode too, and I'm really liking Kaiju number 8. Like I see it as a series that's pretty up there, and so the fact that this game got announced so soon after I caught up was a pretty good news to me. Other than the cinematic trailer, there isn't really other news. I don't think we know anything about the type of gameplay or anything like that. The only thing that we do know is that it's being made by Akatsuki Games. So I kind of went through kind of like online to see what other games they made, to see if I could get a hint of how this game might be. And some of the other games that they're making or made are Tribe 9, which is a game that I actually talked about, I believe, 2 weeks ago, which is a new game that's coming out, which is pretty cool. They're making an Atelier game apparently, and also they worked on Dokkan Battle, which honestly worries me a bit because I barely consider Dokkan Battle a game. If you played it, it's very like, it's like barely a puzzle game, and so like hopefully the Kaiju number 8 game isn't anything like Dokkan Battle. It's more like, in my opinion, like I'd want more of a like Genshin Impact / Wuthering Waves game, where like that, in my opinion, is like actually a full-on playable game that happens to be on mobile. And so if it's more like that, that'd be cool. But again, we literally know nothing about the game other than the developer. But yeah, if we get more news on it, I will of course cover it on this podcast. And the next thing we're going to be talking about, pretty much the rest of the news section, is the Nintendo Direct. Some of the information I'm going to be pulling about the game may have been from future information from after the Nintendo Direct, but I believe all these games I'm going to mention were announced or at least shown in the Nintendo Direct, so that's kind of the lens we're going to be looking at the games from. So the first game I want to mention is a game called Fantasian Neo Dimension. Now this was a game that when I saw, like, I was pretty much following the Nintendo Direct on Twitter. I didn't actually watch it. This is one of the games when I saw, I was like, yo, this looks really fucking cool. I really like like the art style. I really liked the character designs. They're like not too complex. They're pretty simple. And the kind of pitch that was very interesting that they kept saying was that the person who was making it is the father of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. So like, you know, obviously a big name, and also the renowned composer Nobuo Uematsu, who I've heard a lot about, and they're pretty much creating this game. And I thought this was a full new game, but apparently this is a remake of a mobile game. So I'm gonna be reading this quick excerpt really quick, but pretty much the names I mentioned return to deliver an original RPG story. Experience an enhanced version of Fantasian, initially released for Apple Arcade in 2021, with brand new features including English and Japanese voiceovers and an additional difficulty option. In Fantasian, Neo Dimension assumed the role of Leo as he journeys to recover his memories and solve the mystery of a strange mechanical infection destroying his world. So already from that, I think like everything I read from that is good news. First of all, it was on Apple Arcade, which is already a good sign. If you don't know what Apple Arcade is, that's Apple's kind of subscription service where you can play, you know, certain games. And if you didn't know, the games on that are pretty high quality. They're not like the regular mobile games like Fruit Ninja or something where like it's very simple. Like they do have more like full-fledged RPG type games on it. And so the fact that this was a game that was originally released on Apple Arcade, meaning it was made for Apple Arcade, I do feel like the base game of this is, you know, enough for it to be remade into a pretty, you know, full-fledged JRPG. So I do take that as a good sign. And also I do like the kind of last sentence that they said where like the main character trying to solve the mystery of a strange mechanical infection. That's really fucking cool. I don't know if I've experienced a story that had a mechanical infection. I don't know if that means like there's an infection going through mechanical robots, or are people turning into robots? Like that line itself is pretty interesting to me, so I thought that was pretty cool. Another example I'll read off real quick is experience an original and modern take on the beloved turn-based battle system and a wealth of unique mechanics and strategic combat that shake up the classic RPG formula and explore a multi-dimensional universe come to life set against the backdrop of over 150 charming handcrafted dioramas. I don't know what that last part means with the dioramas, maybe like in terms of like settings or places or locations they have. But again, this tells us a bit more about the gameplay. So it is a turn-based battle system, which I really like. I looked at the screenshots that they had of the turn-based battle system. I honestly couldn't get a good grasp of like what the exact battle system was. Pretty much they show like the main character and it shows like a bunch of arrows pointing at the bad guys, and that's pretty much what they kept showing for the turn-based battle system. So it doesn't look like it is a full-on traditional battle system. It looks like it may be doing some original stuff, but like I couldn't get a good grasp of what it actually was. So I thought that was pretty useful to mention. And other than that, the last thing I want to mention is this last kind of synopsis that kind of goes over the story a bit, which is Bacteria, a deathly mechanical infection that robs humans of their emotions and lives, is slowly engulfing the world. The protagonist Leo awakens with only one memory left to him in a strange land abundant with machines. The human world threatened by bacteria, a machine world filled with mysteries, and the unseen dimensions that lie beyond both. Use the warp device that was left behind. Leo must now embark on an interdimensional journey to reclaim his lost memories and save the world from the bacteria infection. Okay, so that solves my, or answers my question that I had of what the infection was. So it's called bacteria, and it's what I thought. It infects humans of their emotions and lives and makes them into machines. That's really fucking interesting. That's the path that I would want it to take. So it straight up turns humans to machines pretty much by taking away their emotions and lives. That's pretty dope. And they're obviously doing the trope where like the main character doesn't know what's going on. He lost his memory. So honestly, just from this kind of like synopsis, I'm really interested in what the game is. So I'll be sure to kind of check it out. And they also have this short trailer I kind of skimmed through, and it looked cool. I really like the ship designs they had on it. They showed some of the robots, and they had like this cool big ass world there too. But honestly, visually, I'm really liking how it looks, and from the story, I'm interested in it too. So this is probably a game I'm going to keep my eye on, especially because they have such huge names behind it too. Like, there's no reason for me not to check it out. But yeah, it is called Fantasian Neo Dimension if you're interested in looking into it deeper. The next game we're going to be looking into is Mario and Luigi Brothers Ship, which was also announced at Nintendo Direct. And just from looking at screenshots in the trailer, I'm really loving the visual style. They're going for more that hand-drawn, cartoony, exaggerated style, which I believe a lot of people had complaints on for like the Mario games that we've been getting. So if you didn't know, the usual Mario games like before Mario Odyssey, like the 2D ones, like New Super Mario Bros, people said it was getting very like clinical and old, and that the style hasn't really changed since the Wii days, and people wanted them to get more like wacky and exaggerated. And I believe since Mario Wonderland, I believe it's called, or Mario Wonder, people were liking the direction it was going, where it was a bit more wacky. You had that elephant power up, and so I feel like this is taking it even further, where you're getting that more OG Mario and Luigi art design. And one detail that I really liked, and that is kind of proves that it's trying something new, is that the color scheme is slightly different. So usually, obviously, Luigi is green and Mario is red, and they're still doing that. But if you look closely in the trailer, and I noticed this too, they have a gradient to their clothes, which is kind of cool. So like if you look at Mario's hat, it's not fully red, it's red, and if you look at the back of his hat, it's kind of gradients to purple. And same with Luigi, if you look at his hat, it's green and kind of gradients to blue. And usually that's something that would be done like with a filter or something, but they literally made the textures kind of baked in with that. But I thought that was a pretty small and cool detail that shows that they are going for something truly different, where they're actually not just using like a pure green for his hat and a pure red for Mario's hat, but like they do have something different with the textures itself. So that was a small detail that I noticed. I thought was pretty cool with the art style of this game. And while I haven't really played the Paper Mario games, I did notice that they did in this trailer pull some things from that. One of the things I believe in the Paper Mario games that you can do, or at least the RPG Mario games, was that it was a turn-based system, which this game is, but you also had like live elements during the combat. So like during the combat, you might have to do some QTEs and press them to do certain commands. And I noticed in the trailer there is a specific moment where like Mario and Luigi, they're like throwing a turtle shell between each other to hit the boss, and there were button prompts on the screen too. So I believe they're going to be doing the same thing where like it is a turn-based battle system, but you'll also be able to do some QTEs in between that to kind of give it more of a live feel. And before I end talking about this game, I'll kind of read the synopsis right here, which is: all aboard for an island-hopping RPG adventure starring Mario and Luigi. The brothers are back for a brand new entry in the Mario and Luigi series, where they set sail on a ship-shaped island, part ship, part island, to navigate the vast world of Concordia. Play as a mustachioed pair and explore the islands that range from tropical rainforests to bustling cities. Along the way, meet new friends to help you on your journey and encounter familiar faces from the Mushroom Kingdom like Peach and Bowser. Keep the brothership afloat and rely on Mario and Luigi's bond to save the day by employing bros moves to get past obstacles and powerful bros attacks to claim victory in a dynamic twist on turn-based combat. So yeah, that's the synopsis of the game, and honestly, this is the closest that a Mario and Luigi or a Mario game has come for making me want to play it. The only Mario type games I played in the past were like co-op games. The co-op based games were like if I want to play with my brother or something. But I've never ever been interested in like a single player Mario game like Mario Odyssey. I was honestly never interested in it because I just really don't care, and like I usually play games for stories, and I don't consider Mario games to really have real stories. And while this game doesn't really seem like it's going to do anything in the story department, the gameplay does look interesting to me because I am interested in turn-based games. Will I play it? Probably not. Again, I like playing for the stories, and I just don't like how Nintendo games never go on sale either. But nonetheless, it does look interesting, and I do like the direction that this game is going for compared to how stagnant it had been a while ago. I know it hasn't really been stagnant as of recent with like Odyssey and Wonder and stuff like that, but I'm really liking the path they're going with this game. But yeah, after this, we're going to go on to the next game, which are a lot of Dragon Quest announcements. So for Dragon Quest, we got announcements for Dragon Quest 1 plus 2, and we have Dragon Quest 3. So let me break it down real quick. So first of all, for Dragon Quest 1 plus 2, we are getting HD 2D remakes that are going to be released on 2025 for the PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. And I didn't know really the context of these games, but apparently these follow the events of Dragon Quest 3. And so because of that, since 1 and 2 is coming after Dragon Quest 3, this is supposedly completing a trilogy, which is pretty cool. So if you want to get the entire story, you can play all 3 of them. And as a newer Dragon Quest fan who's been playing Dragon Quest 11, I thought it was pretty cool that the games are connected. I didn't know the Dragon Quest games did that. I always thought Dragon Quest was like something like Final Fantasy, where like every game is technically disconnected. So the fact that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 literally take place after 3 kinda is getting me interested in it. And if you haven't seen anything about the game, it looks like Octopath Traveler, where like the sprites are 2D, but they're kind of set in a 3D environment. It looks very beautiful. There's kind of like the bokeh in the background with everything blurring. I really love how the visual style of the game is, and yeah, so far it looks really interesting. And the other announcement is Dragon Quest 3, which is coming sooner. It is another HD 2D remake. It is coming on November 14th, which is, you know, in a few months, for PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. And I honestly am excited for this game, mainly because I recognize the main character from Smash. So like whenever I use a Dragon Quest character from Smash, you kind of get to choose between a lot of different Dragon Quest characters, and this was the one that I chose because I just thought he looked the coolest. And the fact that this is his game, I'm like, oh cool, I kind of already know him a bit, so I always thought he looked the best from the ones from Smash. So like, you know, I already have some kind of connection with this game. And so again, it's like Octopath Traveler in terms of the visual style, and it is turn-based. It looks like classic Dragon Quest. And let me just finish off by reading the synopsis right here, which is: years ago, the great hero Ortega bid farewell to his wife and child as he set off on a quest to defeat the villainous Arch-Fiend Baramos. Ortega failed his quest, and Baramos still threatens the world. Now on their 16th birthday, Ortega's only child is summoned by the king of Aleahan and entrusted with the mission of the highest import to take on Ortega's quest, vanquish Baramos, and save the world. Accompanied by a band of traveling companions chosen in the beginning of the game, players are immersed in a vast HD 2D world full of towns, dungeons, and caves, meet fascinating characters, and fight ferocious monsters in enhanced turn-based battles. Now, what is interesting about this, I think, the thing that stuck out to me the most is you're accompanied by a band of traveling companions chosen in the beginning of the game. First of all, the fact that they're chosen in the beginning of the game is interesting. Usually in JRPGs, you kind of meet your companions as you go on the adventure, but specifically they say chosen. I don't know if that means that like they're gonna just give you the party as you start the game, or does that mean that do you get to choose who's your party? Like, I don't know if that's a thing, so that's pretty cool. Like, if you get to, for example, at the start of the game, you're in a town and you have like 10 characters and you get to choose like 3 characters in your party, that'd be pretty fucking cool. I'm not sure if that's what it's alluding to, but that is something that kind of stuck out to me from the synopsis. But yes, that was the Dragon Quest news of 1, 2, and 3 coming out. 3 is coming out sooner this year, and 1 and 2 are going to come out in 2025. Moving on, we still have a lot more games to talk about. It is a game called Farmagia, which is coming out on November 1st, and the art style looks like Fairy Tail, so I'm assuming whoever does the art style for Fairy Tail, the anime, is doing it for this too. And from what I can tell, I don't think we learned anything about the plot of this game, but some things that we did learn about are the characters, so let me just go over that. So we know about a character called Ten, which is the protagonist who often acts before thinking. We know about Archie, which is his childhood friend who balances both kindness and a competitive nature. Chica, another childhood friend with a more reserved demeanor, and Lucky Lou, Ten's sidekick and de facto mascot. And from the trailer you kind of see this, and Lucky Lou is pretty much a mascot. It's kind of like this, I believe, one-eyed purple demon looking thing, which is kind of with them. And again, no gameplay was shown from what I can tell. It was covered in one of these showcases that happened, but yeah, that is a game that was announced and looks cool, I guess. We don't really know anything about it. The next game that I want to go over is Phantom Brave: The Lost Hero, which is supposedly coming out in 2025. And the art style of this game looks like Disgaea, if you've ever seen that. It looks like exactly the same. I believe it's made from the same developers. And so the characters are like chibi-like. The gameplay was kind of like isometric. So like the environments, in my opinion, didn't look that interesting because they were kind of like isometric and grid-based. And there was turn-based combat from what I can tell. And let me read the synopsis real quick. Set sail to save the day in this gridless, tactical, turn-based challenge for the creators of the Disgaea series. Join Morona, a gifted young girl with the power to speak to phantoms, and her loyal phantom companion Ash, as she traverses the ocean world of Ivoire, providing aid to those in need. When a fleet of ghost pirates attack, it's up to Moranoa and her new friend Apricot to assemble the legendary crew that once defeated the spectral foes. Recruit phantoms, bind them to objects, combine them with gadgets, even merge them with Morona herself to unleash show-stopping abilities, and sink the shipwrecked fleet. With over 50 characters and 300 skills to master, prepare for an unforgettable journey. That sounds insane with the 50 characters thing. I'm not sure if that's a normal thing with the Disgaea games. I want to say it is, even though I've never played them, because whenever I've seen like gameplay of Disgaea or like trailers, they always show like a fuck ton of characters, so maybe this is taking, you know, from the same notebook. It seems pretty cool what you can do with phantoms. It says you can bind them to objects, combine them with gadgets, and even merge with them, so that's pretty cool. I don't know like how that actually works gameplay wise. And in terms of the actual plot, it seems very interesting because you're trying to make a crew of pirates that I believe defeated the original bad guy in the past, and so you're just kind of trying to assemble the legendary crew again to do it again. I think that's what it seems like from the synopsis. So story-wise, seems pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to play it. I've always wanted to try the Disgaea series, but I never got into it because I'm not really a fan of like the strict SRPG type battle system where you gotta be stuck to a grid and kind of do the battles that usually last a very long time. This seems like apparently it's a gridless tactical turn-based game, so it says it's gridless, so it might be more like the Trails games where like there's no actual grid. But yeah, we'll see with more gameplay. But I am cautiously optimistic about it. I'm not sure if I'll play it for sure, but it does look interesting. And maybe if this is actually truly like less tactical and grid based than Disgaea, maybe I can play this, like it, and then get into the Disgaea series from this, but we will see. And the next game we're going to go into is a new Legend of Zelda game called Echoes of Wisdom, which is coming out on September 26th. Now, in terms of the art style for this game, it looks exactly like the Link's Awakening remake, so it's kind of like the chibi style very simple looking art style. The eyes are kind of like these black dots. That's how the art style looks. And the kind of gimmick in quotes of this game is that you get to play as Zelda, which is pretty cool. I believe that's a series first. I don't really play Legend of Zelda games, but I believe that is a first time thing that you get to do in this game. I watched the trailer. It kind of shows Zelda going around exploring the world and doing some puzzle solving. It seems like she's using magic to do shit, so it's like you can see her kind of like moving boxes, using items, kind of spawning objects to kind of block like gas pipes to get past, things like that. So like exploring the world by doing mini puzzles like that to move around. And in terms of combat, I couldn't really tell the real combat of the game. It just looked like she was kind of killing enemies as she kind of explored the world, so there wasn't actually like an actual battle you kind of go into whenever you meet a bad guy, from what I can tell from the trailer. And to end it off, here is the synopsis. It's up to Zelda and her wisdom to save the kingdom of Hyrule in a brand new story in the Legend of Zelda series. The people of Hyrule are being stolen away by strange rifts that have appeared, with a certain swordsman among the missing. Team up with the mysterious fairy Tree and use the power of the Tree Rod, it's probably the Tri Rod, to create echoes, imitations of things found in the environment. Then recreate those echoes wherever you like to solve puzzles and defeat enemies. Use echoes of water blocks to reach new heights, make bridges out of old beds, throw rocks at foes, or find your own creative combination of echoes to do things your way. You can even create echoes of monsters to fight at you side in combat. Join Zelda in her quest to rescue Hyrule. So that kind of answers of what I was seeing in the trailer, where like she was kind of spawning objects, so she was using this ecosystem they are talking about. And yeah, it seems pretty cool. And they say a certain swordsman is missing. I'm assuming they're talking about Link. And so yeah, sounds pretty interesting. I don't play Legend of Zelda games, so like I'm probably not gonna be playing this, but seems pretty cool that they are trying something new with this new Legend of Zelda. And honestly, I love when game series do this, where like they don't go full into like the AAA line of series. So like Breath of the Wild seems to be like their main Legend of Zelda game in the series, but I like that they still have like the side series of trying new stuff. I kind of wish every series did that. Like that's what I used to love about Kingdom Hearts. They had like the main line, but they used to do kind of like the smaller portable games. So the fact that Legend of Zelda is doing this is pretty cool. So yeah, it's coming out September 26th, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. We are nearing the end of this news section, so hold in there. We have another game called the 100 Line Last Defense Academy, which is coming out for Switch and PC, launching early 2025. And in terms of the art style, it looks exactly like Danganronpa. So like that's how it looks. If you know how the game looks, kind of like this anime style, and the specific anime style is like Danganronpa. And this game is pretty interesting because I was kind of like going to the Gematsu page, and one of the things that stuck out to me is that there are apparently 100 extreme despair-filled endings, which is, first of all, 100 endings is fucking insane. I don't know how different they are. They're probably like barely different. But the thing that was stuck out to me is that they're extreme despair-filled endings, which I'm not sure how I feel about, because usually when I play a game and I get a bad ending, I kind of feel shitty. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And I want to get the good ending as soon as possible. So the fact that there's 100 extreme despair-filled endings makes me wonder, how many good endings are there? Are there good endings to this game? So hopefully there are. I'm not sure, but that's kind of one of their selling points of the game. And a few other things they mentioned is that there are defensive battles where you protect the school from invaders. So like that's the battle system, like that's how it's gonna be. And in terms of the actual like physical battle system, it is a grid-based battle system from what I can see from the trailer. And also they have like, you know, a JRPG thing where like there's free time and exploration segments of the game where you get to kind of deepen your bonds with teammates. So that is a thing that's also in the game. And again, the synopsis is: Takumi Sumino is a totally average teenager living in the Tokyo residential complex, a place where every day is much like the last and nothing bad ever happens. All that changes when freakish monsters attack the town and start wreaking havoc. A strange creature calling himself Sirai appears and offers Takumi the power to protect those he holds dear. All he has to do is stab himself in the chest. What the fuck? The next thing he knows, Takumi is in the Last Defense Academy, a school in the middle of nowhere surrounded by a wall of otherworldly flames. He and 14 other students have been drafted to the Special Defense Unit, a team tasked with keeping the school safe for the next 100 days. Okay, I kind of get why there's 100 endings now. How much are they willing to sacrifice to take back their normal lives and save the world from the grotesque school invaders? Oh, that's all. I don't know why I ended it like that. But that sounds pretty cool. It's pretty different from normal JRPGs, because usually in JRPGs where it involves a school, you're kind of living the school life, but then on the side you have the secret kind of like story of paranormal stuff. But it seems like in this, the school is the paranormal thing, where like the combat is very connected to the school where you're actually protecting it. And based on the synopsis, I can understand the 100 extreme despair-filled endings now, where like you have to protect the school for 100 days. They mentioned that you have to protect the school in the actual gameplay, and so like I'm assuming if you lose on any of those days, you get an ending, which is pretty cool. So that means every time you lose, you will get an ending, which is pretty dope. So like you have to survive those 100 days to get the ending. This sounds Persona-esque, honestly, and honestly sounds pretty interesting. I may be checking this out. It is only for Switch and PC, which is unfortunate because I prefer to play on PlayStation. But yeah, it is called the 100 Line Last Defense Academy. And finally, we're moving on to the last game of the news section, which is Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven, which is a 3D remake that is being made for the PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. Visually, it looks like the Saga Emerald game that came out recently. If you know how that looks like, it just looks like a regular 3D JRPG. It is turn-based from what I can tell, and I'm honestly liking the setting slash kind of like the look of everything, where like it seems like it's taking place in a medieval time because everyone is armored. So like I really like the character designs, and I prefer that too because I enjoy JRPGs which have an urban setting, which this seems to have because it shows them kind of like in a town. And if you honestly want more details of the game, I noticed specifically for this game, the Gamatsu article is like hella fucking detailed, where they go into every single character, the settings, a lot of gameplay features. They go fucking in depth. Like it takes a while to scroll through it. So if you're interested in this game at all, check the Gamatsu article. But let me read the synopsis real quick. It is the Imperial Year 1000. Terrifying fiends plague the land, and various nations struggle to contend with both this incursion and their own internal conflicts. The people wait and hope for the fulfillment of an ancient legend that foretells the coming of 7 great heroes who will save the ravaged kingdoms. Then one fated day, Avalon, the capital of the Varanus Empire, is suddenly and brutally attacked. The aggressor is none other than Kzinsi, one of the 7 heroes of legend. Oh shit. The people are crushed underfoot, and Prince Victor, the brave and noble heir to the imperial throne, is slain. The citizens of the empire are overcome with despair and the realization that the legends were false, but Victor's father, Emperor Leon, swears his vengeance on the 7 and their mighty powers. Whoa. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I was gonna, as I was reading that, I was like, okay, this is kind of like the thing, the trope where like there's X number of heroes who are gonna save the day, but the fact that one of them is the villain is pretty fucking cool. That's dope. And if it wasn't obvious yet, I don't read the synopsis ahead of time, so I can kind of give you my live reaction. So like that's one of them where like that synopsis sounds pretty dope, so like maybe I'll look into this, we'll see. But yeah, it's called Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven. It's coming out on PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. And that ends off our news segment. That was a lot of fucking news because I didn't do news last week, so I had to kind of build up. Luckily there wasn't that much news this week. Honestly, this was mostly news from last week, so like not the newest news, but yeah, that was the news from this week.